Rumor presents Chocolate Yoddah Live.
Hey folks, Chocolate Yoddah here, spelled Y-O-D-D-A-H, because film studios are litigious. And welcome to Chocolate Yoddah Live. Today is Friday, June 16th, 2023. And what a week it's been. In a moment, I'm going to briefly discuss the Greek tragedy that is Donnie Dump, but it will be brief. But before I get to that, 3 months ago, I had let people know that I got the results of a blood test that told me that I now had entry-level diabetes numbers. So the number, apparently anything 6.4 and above is considered diabetes. I scored 6.5. I thought the test was multiple choice, but I was wrong about that. So at that point, we scheduled a blood test, which I took last week. And my goal was in 3 months to lower that number. And today I got the results that I did. I am now down to 6.2, which means I'm under the diabetes category, but I'm still in pre-diabetes. So it was a minor success. It wasn't what I was hoping for. I took the lazy route to try to move the numbers. And what that means is I just gave up sugar, basically. And I would say very unscientifically that I gave up somewhere in the 90 to 95% of my sugar intake, because I was eating junk food pretty much every day, chocolate and candy, stuff like that. And once in a while I was drinking soda, probably once or twice a week. And obviously those things are just absolutely loaded with sugar, so I knew that that was probably going to have some kind of impact if I eliminated those things, and I was right. But now that it didn't bring the number down under 6, which would be ideal, now that means that I have to do more. And it's not a lot more. It really is just cutting out simple carbohydrates, easy for me to say. But if because I have a habit of not preparing food for myself. If you can have a habit of not doing something, I'm not sure that's appropriate grammatically, but I generally don't prepare food for myself to take with me on the road. So I'll stop in convenience stores throughout my shift, and there's really, aside from fruit, there's really not much that's healthy in these stores. And depending on which convenience store you go in, the fruit is probably not that great either. And even if it were, obviously living on fruit all day is not going to do it for me. So now all that means is that in order to avoid simple carbohydrates and eat better food, I now have to prepare food for myself, which is a thing I never wanted to do, but now I really don't have a reasonable choice about it. I mean, I do have a choice. I could keep doing what I'm doing and die slowly, and just, deteriorate into a very preventable disease, or I can put in a little bit of effort, a little bit of forethought, and continue to bring the numbers down. So I will take this minor victory. It is a direct result of the decisions that I made. So that's good. We'll take it. So it's in the win column for sure, but now it just means I have to do more. And if in 3 months when I go back, we found that it didn't move the needle significantly enough, I do have a phase 3 plan, which is to go on the McDougall diet, which I've known about for decades, at least 30 years, and just never wanted to do it because it always seemed like too much work. But now, it's a different situation. I'm 30 years older, and aside from this, luckily, I'm in very, very good health. But still, it doesn't really matter. If I let this overtake me, it could adversely affect my health in many, many ways. And one of my favorite comedians ever, Patrice O'Neal, died in 2011 because of diabetes. So, it's a serious thing. I don't want to take it lightly, and I won't, and I haven't. I mean, I essentially conducted an experiment on myself these last 3 months just to see, all right, what happens if I just eliminate sugar? And I have my answer now, and again, progress, but not where I need to be. So I don't know whether I'll update you again. Maybe I will. If I get it below 6, I'll probably celebrate briefly, but that's that. Now, let's move on to the former White House squatter and failed, twice impeached, twice indicted, twice arrested, former White House squatter, who I refer to as Donnie Dump. And as I read the indictment, anywhere they mention his real name, I will substitute it with Donnie Dump because I feel like it, and I think he's garbage, so I don't want to give him any more respect than I have to. So I'm going to need my glasses for this. So for the folks watching, here you go. This is me and my goofy glasses. Anyone on Wisdom that wants to see me, you can go to YouTube /@thepersistentrumor and check me out. You can click on the live tab or just after Persistent Rumor, another slash, and I think type in stream or streams, and you can find it that way too. But either way, there I am in all my beauty and glory. So let's start at the time. And I'm only going to read maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs of this because I just love the wording of this. So the grand jury charges that general allegations, at times material to this indictment, on or about the dates and approximate times stated below. Introduction. Number 1, defendant Donnie Dump was the 45th President of the United States of America. He held office from January 20, 2017 until January 20, 2021. As President, Dump had lawful access to the most sensitive classified documents and national defense information gathered and owned by the United States government, including information from the agencies that comprise the United States intelligence community and the United States Department of Defense. Number 2, over the course of his presidency, or as I like to call it, squatting in the White House, Dump gathered newspapers, press clippings, letters, notes, cards, photographs, official documents, and other materials in cardboard boxes that he kept in the White House. Among the materials Dump stored in his boxes were hundreds of classified documents. 3. The classified documents Dump stored in his boxes included information regarding defense and weapons capabilities of both the United States and foreign countries, United States nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the United States and its allies to military attack, and plans for possible retaliation in response to a foreign attack. The unauthorized disclosure of these classified documents could put at risk the national security of the United States, foreign relations, the safety of the United States military and human sources, and the continued viability of sensitive intelligence collection methods. Number 4. At 12 p.m. on January 2021, Dump ceased to be president, as if he ever was. As he departed the White House, Dump caused scores of boxes, many of which contained classified documents. And just a quick note here, scores refers to a set of 20. So every set of 20 is a score. So scores of boxes. So at least 40 boxes. And from what we've seen, much, much more. So as they said, as he departed the White House, Dump caused scores of boxes, many of which contained classified documents, to be transported to the Mar-a-Lago Club in Palm Beach, Florida, where he maintained his residence. Dump was not authorized to possess or retain those classified documents. And 5, and I think I might end here, the Mar-a-Lago Club was an active social club which, between January 2021 and August 2022, hosted events for tens of thousands of members and guests. After Dump's presidency, the Mar-a-Lago Club was not an authorized location for the storage, possession, review, display, or discussion of classified documents. Nevertheless, Dump stored his boxes containing classified documents in various locations at the Mar-a-Lago Club, including a ballroom, a bathroom and shower, an office space, his bedroom, and a storage room. So, I think it's pretty clear what's going on here. And this is one of those things where, as I've said before, I'm not a lawyer. I just play one in my mother's fantasies. Her very, very disappointed fantasies, I might add. And from the legal experts that I've been listening to, and the articles that I've read, this is a layup. This case is simultaneously the biggest case in American history and the easiest layup for prosecutors that there could have ever been. And what's beautiful about this prosecution, as we'll see laid out over time, is that Dump has been actively participating in his own prosecution, because almost without fail, every public utterance, whether spoken or written, is self-incriminating. To put it mildly, in my opinion, he's an idiot. He was a privileged, pampered child who was born on third base and always claiming to hit a triple. He has advantages that some people could never imagine. He was handed an absolute empire business-wise. His father had developed 22,000 rental units, mostly in the New York area. And in fact, my son was born in Trump Pavilion in Jamaica Hospital in Queens, New York. So he had his empire handed to him, and it wasn't just the 22,000 rental units. It was, I believe, somewhere between $300 million and $400 million in cash, plus immense credit with the banks and endless banking contacts, and of course, tons of political contacts. So this guy was, and the rest of his family, the rest of his siblings, were just handed this enormous empire, and had they done absolutely nothing. I read an article back in, I think the early 2000s, where an economist had stated if they had just done nothing and put their money in very, very safe, low-yield accounts, they would have been worth $13 billion. But because Dump is an idiot, he kept gambling with the money, and because, moreover, he's a real idiot, he kept losing at those gambles. You know, think about it. He had a successful casino. So what did he do? He opened up another casino in the same town, Atlantic City, and it competed with the first casino. They both lost revenue and both went out of business. The man owned the Plaza. Oh, that's some severe thunder we're getting. The man owned the Plaza Hotel. It's actually where I proposed to my second ex-wife. And it was outrageously expensive. Okay, because we're talking about 2000. Yeah, the year 2000. And I won't even tell you what one night at that joint cost, but it was crazy. And you own the premier hotel and you get that foreclosed or it went bankrupt or whatever, one of those things, because he couldn't figure out how to make a profit on it because he's an idiot. And we know that he didn't reveal his taxes before he became the White House squatter because his taxes revealed his criminal activity. You know, inflating the price or the value of a property before he would seek a loan, and then deflating the value when it came time to pay taxes. So all those shady dealings were revealed in his taxes. And I know that because once his taxes were revealed, and I think it was last year or early this year, it was all there. All the criminality was there. But further evidence that he's an idiot is that he would have continued getting away with all that criminal behavior had he not decided to get on the largest stage in the world, which is squatting in the White House. All right. So he can't keep his mouth shut. 24 hours after he lost the case to E. Jean Carroll and was ordered to pay her $5 million for defamation, he defamed her again in the same way that he had defamed her that caused him to lose. And now she's suing him again for $10 million because apparently $5 million wasn't painful enough for him to shut up. Genius. I mean, come on. How stupid do you have to be? And I mean, the guy's on tape asking an election official to lie about election results. He's on tape admitting that he had classified documents when he kept pretending that all of them were declassified. He goes on his ridiculous platform that's losing money and people and members all the time, that Truth Social, which he can't even pronounce. He called it Truth Central. I mean, wow. You know, he goes on there and just all caps rants. I mean, he really appears like a lunatic. And the weird part is that he still has supporters. I just spoke to a guy last night who tried to tell me how great he was. And it's like, I couldn't even engage because it's like, you're not operating under facts. And look, folks, so many things can be debated. We can debate philosophy, we can debate religion, we can debate who's the better sports team, we can debate all sorts of things that have a subjective foundation to them. There is no debating facts. And when it comes to the results that someone in the White House gets, whether they are president or a White House squatter, as Dump was, those are facts. Okay, there's no debating facts, and all of the facts point to a failed administration. Okay, hemorrhaged jobs, and look, I don't even like Joe Biden, never have, but his results count for something. And all of the jobs that Dump lost, not only did Biden replace, but added 11 million more. So he is doing the job that is supposed to be done. Anyone that wants to nitpick about the imperfections and incompleteness, have at it. Great debates. But we cannot debate the facts. And I won't engage people like this guy. I just won't do it. Anyway, so that's what's happening there. One of the things that came out of the conversation I had with this guy last night is that it's very interesting how people protect their belief systems. You know, our belief systems are the way that we understand how to live. So they're important, obviously. And our brains would be worthless if they didn't protect that mechanism, right? So, you know, you have, I guess, what you would call levels of your mind, layers in your brain. You know, so there's the outer layer that everybody sees. That's your personality, that's your outward expression, you know, the way you talk, the way you move through life, the things that are observable by other people. But that outer layer very often doesn't tell the whole story because we can't see what's in someone's mind, right? So we could have a person that appears to be a decent human being. I'll give you an example of a guy that was a family man, wife and children, or at least one child for sure. He was a business owner and belonged to just about every business and civic organization in his town. We also know that he was a very generous man in that he volunteered his time to go entertain sick children in hospitals, and to do so he would dress as a clown. He was even an artist. He actually painted quite beautifully, and mostly he painted clowns. But he had this one little problem that nobody knew about. I guess you could call it a hobby or a passion. You could certainly describe it as a dysfunction and a heinous aspect of his personality, and that is he used to kidnap, torture, rape, and murder teenage boys. And his name was John Wayne Gacy. And why do I bring that all up? Is because we never know what's going on beneath the surface of a person. Even his wife, who slept next to him, bore his child or children, and lived a life with him and didn't know that he was doing these things. And this is not unusual. We see this all the time. People have no idea that some people are living a completely separate life than the one that they are aware of, right? So that's because as you get deeper in the layers, once you get past that outer surface, then you get to a level where your true beliefs are protected, because that's the last level, right? The last level is the core of your being, which is your belief system, the collection of beliefs you have about everything in life. You know, the kind of women you like, or the kind of person you're attracted to, whatever gender and sex and sexual orientation you are, you know, whether you're religious or not, whether you're political or not, what songs you like, whatever, all that stuff. It's housed in your belief system. And some of these beliefs are kind of casual, you know, like whether you like vanilla or chocolate ice cream, you know, that's particularly inconsequential, but, you know, or whether you believe that, you know, a certain race of people are filthy animals who should be exterminated. Okay, all of these are part of your belief system. And so the layer right outside of those core beliefs is a layer which is basically a wall. It protects those beliefs, because in order to avoid schizophrenia, your beliefs have to be congruent and they have to make sense to you, right? And so that outer layer, that layer right outside of your beliefs, is there to deflect anything that would destroy those beliefs, right? We see this in the case of someone who deprograms a cult member. Okay, this is an arduous process. It can be protracted at times because this person's belief is so entrenched as a cult member that anything you do to challenge those beliefs is rejected. But over time and with expertise and the right set of circumstances, you can break through. But it's not easy. It's not easy. And for some people, no matter what facts change, their core beliefs will not change. And this brings me full circle to the guy that I was speaking with last night. He just refused to accept the couple of facts that I threw out, so I just, disengaged and ended the conversation. It was not unpleasant insofar as, any exchange between us. It was unpleasant for me just knowing that there's so many idiots out there like this guy. And he's probably a good person. He's probably a decent guy who works, pays his bills, pays his taxes, treats his wife and children fine, has lovely friends, maybe a pet or two, whatever. He's probably causing no one any harm with his behavior, but he just refuses to accept these beliefs. And how are beliefs formed? Well, we have this period of our life that psychologists and mental health experts refer to as our formative years. Now, there's a little bit of debate as to exactly when that happens, and I don't think there's any concrete answer, but I think the most consistent answer is basically from birth to 7 years old. Those are the years where you are forming your beliefs and understandings about life, about yourself, about your place in the world, about the people in your life, about the things that you do, about the things that you like, the things you don't like, And of course you make distinctions as you get older, because at 7, even though you've probably gone through the Oedipal process and sort of imprinted what your future mate is going to be about by your orientation to your mother and the Electra process for women that are orienting to their father, you still haven't had sex, more than likely, and you're going to have experiences later on that continue to build on those beliefs and those distinctions and those understandings that you made. But no matter what that process is and no matter how long it takes, remember that these beliefs form everything that you know about how to live life. So these things are not casual for the most part. And so that's why when someone, as they get older, you get those, I guess, axioms that are like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, even though that's not literally true. We understand what that means. People's beliefs tend to get calcified as they grow older. That's why I'm a big believer in never-ending learning. I'm always trying to learn new things because I think that stimulates my brain. We know that it staves off Alzheimer's to, do things like learn languages as you get older, get into math, quadratic equations, quantum math, all these things, And for some people, though, that continual learning doesn't take place. Especially in the realm of beliefs, right? They don't ever challenge their beliefs. Like, there are adults running around, and as I've stated before, I believe that in general, most adults are just giant toddlers. And the reason that I believe that is because they've never revised their beliefs. They've never changed any of the beliefs that they formed when they were children. So, let's say, by 10 years old, you start to, think about the opposite sex, and you start talking to this little blonde girl your age, and she rejects you. Now, you might decide that blonde girls are hurtful, and it probably wasn't even true in the moment you decided it, but if you never take a look at that again, and as you grow older ask, well, is that true? Are blonde women actually hurtful, or is it just I got hurt from this one girl when I was 10 who happened to be blonde? It's that correlation doesn't equal causation thing. Just because you were hurt and the girl was blonde doesn't mean you were hurt because she was blonde, right? You were hurt for other reasons. You were hurt because you were rejected, right? And even though that's a pretty basic example, there are a litany of things just like that people believe and just never revise. I was fortunate. When I was 23 years old, I began my process of self-development back in 1987. And in 1988, I fell in with a group of people that were dedicated to improving their lives. We really dug into it. It was a very, very difficult and emotionally challenging process. I mean, it was not unusual for several people to be crying during a session because we were just cutting through the center of the onion, another metaphor, slicing people open, reaching in, grabbing some guts and yanking. Like it was brutal at times, but it was necessary, right? Just like, when we're preteens going into teenage years, we sometimes experience physical pain, and we just encapsulate that idea as growing pains, and we know that it's necessary in order to grow. Sometimes you're going to experience pain. It's not ideal, it's not what anyone wants, but sometimes it's unavoidable. A child learning to walk, they fall down a lot before they get the hang of it, and sometimes when they fall down it hurts and they cry, but their desire and determination to explore more of their world more efficiently keeps driving them to keep trying to walk. And so pain is sometimes part of the process, and some people will not allow themselves to go through that pain, even if they ever consider revising their ideas at all. But to get what you want, you have to give up what you have. And if you want an open mind, you have to give up this idea that your beliefs get to live trapped in amber for your whole life and never change. No, you have to go through the discomfort of throwing out all old beliefs, which is a very hard thing to do. And then sometimes just as challenging is replacing those old unproductive beliefs with new beliefs, because you can't just get rid of the old beliefs. You have to create new beliefs. So when I listen to people that won't adjust their beliefs based on the new facts that are introduced to them, I will make an attempt or two, but if they're completely entrenched, it's like, ultimately this is none of my business. They can go ahead and believe what they want to believe. It's unfortunate, but I'm going to carry on with my life, right? But that's what's going on. So that's why I read the beginning of the indictment, is so that when you hear people saying, oh, it's why is he in trouble? The Presidential Records Act covers this. Well, this has nothing to do with the Presidential Records Act. Absolutely nothing. Okay. This has to do with obstruction of justice. It has to do with espionage, and in total 37 different counts. All right. This is a real thing. And when people look at that and say, well, I'm still going to support him. If he's running, I'm still going to vote for him. That's someone that is not willing to revise their opinion or belief based on new information. And that is, for the record, cult-like behavior. All right? Are the MAGAs a cult? Maybe not officially, but in all the ways that cults are evaluated, they check most of the boxes. And probably the biggest indicator is just an undying devotion to the idea of a person who isn't even the person that they believe him to be. None of his behavior indicates any evidence that he is who they say he is. But that's the tricky part of beliefs, is that if you're determined to hold on to them, evidence doesn't matter. And I'm sure you know people like that, and I'm sure at times like me, you've been like that. All right? But the challenge is, if we're going to grow, if we're going to expand our consciousness and our being and our literal emotional health and our literal brain health, we have to be willing to work and expand and take in new information and be willing to get rid of old information. Be willing to be wrong. Sometimes you're going to be wrong. And it seems like the worst thing for some people to be wrong. I mean, some people fight it tooth and nail. They just can't be wrong. But what about this? But what about that? But what about that? But what about we stick to the facts? You know, stick to the facts. Oh, Biden's got boxes. Well, Biden's president right now. He's supposed to have boxes of secret stuff. Oh, what about Hillary? Hillary was investigated to death almost. And she hasn't been in office for 10 years now. She got out of public service in the government in 2013. Why is her name even being invoked? And listen, if evidence springs up that Hillary Clinton committed a crime, prosecute her. If evidence springs up that Joe Biden committed a crime, prosecute him. I am not playing favorites. I do believe in the equal application of the law. And I believe in the letter of the law. I believe in the spirit of the law. Because the law is simply an attempt to codify morality. So sure, let's keep people safe. Let's punish people who transgress. All that. And I don't care who it is. I'm not on anybody's team. I'm not Team Democrat. I'm not Team Republican. I don't care. All of that nonsense is bullshit to me. Oh, I'm just going to slavishly adhere to some team no matter what their behavior is? No. I told my best friend, who I love dearly, I devoted an entire episode of Chocolate Yoddah Live to this guy. I told him, hey, if I found out tomorrow you were diddling children, I would drop you in a heartbeat. Because now that means that the person that I knew is not that person anymore, and he's causing the worst kind of harm that you can cause. I am not sticking by someone like that. New information equals new opinion, new conclusions, new determinations, new understandings. It's happened in science. That's the whole process of science. Let's try to prove this guy's assertion wrong or this person's assertion wrong. If we exhaust every attempt to prove that assertion wrong, we accept that assertion as fact. And that's what's happening right now. There are facts to be had in all of this stuff. The economy, the military, guns, all that stuff. There's facts. You can either accept the facts or reject them. The facts don't care what you do because they're still going to be the facts. And this works on the macro, it works on the micro, and it works on each individual. This is what I strive for. I strive to live a fact-based life. And one last thought I'll share about this is that living a fact-based life doesn't mean that you become some kind of robot. I am an extraordinarily passionate man. I feel things very deeply. I am fascinated by so many things. Flowers, the stars, the fact that it takes a rock 100,000 years to become sand. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. The fact that dolphins can understand us, but we can't understand them. So it sounds like they're kind of smarter, and their frontal cortex is 40% larger than ours. So, hey, there's the evidence for that. I mean, all of these things fascinate me. Life is just endless fascination to me. So I can be a person who seeks to engage information on a fact-based level and still be moved by music and poetry and films and books and all that other stuff. And just, other people. You know, those things are not mutually exclusive. You can be fact-based and passionate and fully engaged in life. There is absolutely no conflict in that. So that's my second week doing Chocolate Yoddah Live, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. For those of you who have watched, thank you. For those of you who have joined me on the Wisdom app, thank you. And, you know, we're going to keep the party rolling. Hopefully, with any luck, I will see you Monday the 19th. In the meantime, have a spectacular rest of the day, a spectacular weekend. Peace, love, and granola. Talk to you soon.